Now we are looking at the inverter. The inverter is giving an output of how many volts? On average, sometimes somehow maybe 220 to 230 volts. But for the sake of this video, we'll be using a 220 volts on average, 220 volts. All right, and then we have um, the power of the inverter. Let's say the inverter is a 5 kilowatts of 5,000 watts inverter. So we have the power, which is 5,000 watts, 5,000 watts inverter. Now we are going to look for the current. Now the formula for the current is equal to, this is I, is the current. So we have P over V, power over voltage, which is 5,000 watts over 220 watts. So we're having 22.7 amps. All right, so 22.7 amps is the size of the current that is being passed from the inverter to the house. Now, let's introduce safety factor. Safety factor. Our safety factor is 125%, which is equivalent to 1.25. Now, all we just have to do is to multiply this with the safety factor, which is going to give us 22.7 times 1.25. We are having 28.37, 28.37 amps. Right, so we're having 28.37 amps. So you can use a breaker of around 28.37 amps, 30 amps, 35 amps to around 40 amps. But ensure that the breaker that you are getting is at a close range with this value given. All right, to ensure its effectiveness. But if it's not at a close range, the breaker is not going to be effective. In this case, for instance, if you go and use a 60 amp breaker, it's not going to be effective. When it requires for it to trip off, if there is any sense of danger, it's not going to trip off because the rating is higher, it is oversized. So it is important that when you are sizing your breaker, you ensure that even after getting the value, ensure that the breaker you are getting is at a close range with the value you are getting to make it effective. And as well, don't undersize your breaker. All right, so ensure that it is in between for its effectiveness. All right, once again, this is Exit Solar Solutions. Do well to engage in my post, and then